Hey everyone, and welcome to the Anime Impressions Summer 2015 Anime Season Preview. We have a lot of shows to cover. I'm going to try to keep things moving, but don't forget that you can click on the settings button and speed this up if I'm not fast enough for you. So let's go ahead and get started with a little bit of a disclaimer here. I just want to let you know that my previews cover new full-length anime series only. I don't cover movies, OVAs, TV shorts, returning series, things like that. And that all information is accurate to the best of my knowledge, but may contain errors or misinterpretations or missing shows or shows that turn out to be shorts and things like that, just based on the information that is available when I make these videos. If you want more information on the formats I don't cover, check out anychart.net or livechart.me. Those are both great resources to find out what shows are coming up each season, and they are the resources that I use to make these videos. All right, we're going to go through the list real quick of the shows that are returning this season. Just briefly mention them. We've got Food Wars, Ultimate Otaku Teacher, Rine, The Heroic Legend of Arslan, My Love Story, Durarara, Working, Gatchaman Crowds, A New Dragon Ball Cho, To Love Ru Darkness, Non Non Biyori, Junjo Romantica, Idolmaster Cinderella Girls, Fate Calia Prisma Ilia, Yuru Yuri, and Symphogear. Now, moving on to the brand new shows, what this preview video is all about, we're going to kick things off with Gangsta. Now, I just want to point out that if you look in the bottom right, you can see the 1 of 21. This is just a counter to help you keep track of what show we're at and what kind of progression we are making through these videos. And if you want to skip ahead, you can do that without getting lost. So, number 1, Gangsta. This is an anime that follows 2 men for hire in a town that's ruled over by 4 different gangs. In addition to a town, full of mafia gang action, there are also these people called Twilights who have increased speed and strength that everybody has to deal with. So, even though these Twilights are in this town, based on the promotional video and the first chapter of the manga, it doesn't really seem like they're like super powered human beings. So it's more like, they are strong, fast people, but it seems to be more about the whole mafia atmosphere, gang violence kind of thing. This is an action drama being done by Manglobe, and they have done Samurai Champloo, Dead Man Wonderland, and The World God Only Knows. Now, the bottom line on this show is that this is one of the few more mature-looking shows that are coming out this season. Definitely looks like it's going to provide a plot full of intrigue and action, the kind of story with meat to it that you can kind of chew on from week to week. I'm excited about the soundtrack as well because it's being done by the producer of the Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo soundtracks, which are both great. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of music comes out of this show. And I think that overall the show just looks really promising. Next up, we've got Chaos Dragon, Red Dragon War. Now, this particular show is set in this world where these 2 powerful countries are kind of fighting it out for supremacy, and they're sort of like just tearing this world apart. And in the midst of all this, the island nation of Nil Kamui loses its independence, and its guardian god, who is a giant red dragon, goes out of control. And the story sort of follows that nation and the other nations and how they all kind of struggle to resolve this war and how Nil Kamui tries to regain its independence. This is a fantasy action supernatural show. It's being done by Silver Link, who has done Kokoro Connect, Yurikuma Arashi, and Nan Nan Biyori. The bottom line here is, hey, I watched the video and wow, giant 3D dragons. My reaction was like, why does every dragon have to be in 3D now? I really want to dislike this show for whatever reason, but I can't help but find it to be intriguing. I don't know if I like the character designs. I can't tell if it's going to be an action-packed show or a very political show. I don't know, but the PVs are well done. The music is great in the promotional videos, and that's enough really to sell me on the concept of the show, and I do think it looks promising, even though I do kind of want to hate on it. Next up, we have Rampo Kitan, Game of Laplace. Now, there's not a lot of information about the show, but what we do know is that it's about a genius detective who comes to a middle school where several murder cases have taken place, which kind of, we got to stop right there and go, why is everyone getting murdered at this middle school? That's very interesting to me. I want to know why. But a student at the school gets really interested in the detective and the work that he's doing. And so he, against the sort of wishes of his classmates, decides to volunteer to become the detective's assistant. And I guess it follows them trying to solve these murders and mysteries. So this is a horror mystery show being done by um, Lausche, I believe that's how you say that, who has done The Unbreakable Machine Doll, Hamatora, and Assassination Classroom. The bottom line here is, like I said, there's not a lot of information, but the art, the concept, and the characters, they all look cool, and they make me think of Ghost Hunt, which is a little bit of an older anime. I really enjoyed Ghost Hunt. It sort of had that murder mystery kind of thing going on with some supernatural thrown in. So I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to get excited about this one for those reasons, and because, we really don't get many horror anime these days, and when we do, it's not often that it's sort of this like detective horror story kind of deal. A lot of times it's just, horrible monsters sort of killing everyone. So I think this one looks promising. Next up, we have Alharu X Machine Gun. I don't know if the X is silent or what, but it's in there. This one is about a girl named Hotaru Tachibana, who is a high school student, and she's constantly mistaken for a boy. And, honestly, it's her fault. She dresses like a boy. She has a haircut like a boy, all that kind of stuff. I don't know. It's questionable. There are people out there where you just can't tell. But anyway, she's always mistaken for being a boy, and in a strange turn of events, she gets caught up in the world of survival games because of her neighbor, who is actually a survival games host. And they form a team with a eroge author, and their team tries to become the best in Japan. This is an action comedy slice of life show being done by Brains Base, who's done Rine, One Week Friends, and Durarara. And the bottom line here is that, the premise for this anime immediately makes me think of Survival Game Club or Sabagebu. And that show, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was hilarious. And I know that this anime is probably not going to go to the ridiculous extremes that Sabagebu did. But I'm happy to return to the world of survival games and all of its madness via anime. I did read the first chapter of the manga, and it was really entertaining. The main character was kind of a badass. And, for someone who's a high school student playing survival games. And the art style is pretty cool. So I do think this one looks pretty promising. Next up, we have Castletown Dandelion. Now, this show is about 9 siblings who are royalty, essentially, and their daily lives are constantly monitored by cameras and broadcast out to the public. And that's because the public is eventually going to choose the next monarch via vote based on, these broadcasts that are being put out. The story is focused on one of the older sisters who can manipulate gravity. It's a slice-of-life comedy action show being done by Production IMS, who's done Inari Con, Gonna Be the Twin Tails, and Testament of Sister New Devil. The bottom line on this show is that it doesn't look all that great. It doesn't really look all that bad either. The concept's kind of interesting, and I think that based on the promotional video, it might be a little bit funny at times. But I'm not really expecting it to stand out too much compared to a lot of the other offerings that are there this season. So I'm neutral about this one. Don't hate it, not expecting a lot. Just right there, middle ground. We'll see what happens. Next, we have Ushio and Tora. Now, this show is about Ushio, who is the son of a shrine priest. His dad is always talking about the legend of this demon-slaying spear and the monster that's trapped at the temple, and Ushio, doesn't believe him, thinks he's just, talking up a storm or whatever. And one day, Ushio is sent to go clean out a shed, like, in every anime. And he opens this trap door, and all this bad aura comes out, and he discovers that there really is a monster down there trapped by this demon-slaying spear. And as a result of that aura coming out, all these bad demons start coming to the temple, and in order to save his friends, he has to release the demon and fight with the demon to take down the other monsters and, all that kind of good stuff. This is a supernatural shonen comedy being done by Mappa, who's done Kids on the Slope, Punchline, and Rage of Bahamut Genesis. The bottom line here is that the plot sounds so stereotypical and dull, it's not even funny. I'm not a big fan of the character designs. Based on the first chapter of the manga, Ushio was really, really obnoxious. I was reading it and just like, please, Shut this guy up. So almost everything about this show makes me want to dislike it simply because it is so unoriginal, I guess. But the promotional video was pretty good, and I think that maybe the action will wind up making up for it, or maybe there'll be some comedy elements in it that sort of redeem it. So I'm going to stay neutral on this one, even though I kind of want to hate it. I can't go that far, but I also am not going to say that I'm overly excited about it either. So next up we have Gate, thus the JSDF fought there. This one, I'm kind of hoping maybe it'll get a better translation for an English title. I don't know. Maybe not. Either way, in this anime, this gate appears in Tokyo's Ginza district. And basically, when the gate opens, all kinds of fantasy beings pour out. Orcs, knights in armor, dragons, wizards, whatever. And they pretty much just start, wreaking hell on the city. Just total chaos. They're killing people, all kinds of stuff. And the government decides to send a small group of soldiers through the gate to figure out what the heck is going on. And the show kind of follows the adventures of that group as they journey through this new fantasy land that they enter. And they're actually led by an otaku soldier, which, of course, he knows all about the fantasy and all that kind of stuff. This is a military fantasy action-adventure show. It's being done by A1 Pictures, who's done Your Lie in April, Seven Deadly Sins, and Silver Spoon. And the bottom line here is I love the idea behind this anime, mixing modern military, we're talking assault rifles and tanks and stuff like that, and high fantasy, so wizards, elves, orcs, is really interesting. And as far as I know, it doesn't happen too often. I can't think of too many shows that have a mix like this of those two kind of different genres. And I really like the character designs. The music has this old school JRPG, Final Fantasy kind of feel to it. And A1 Pictures is doing the animation, and they always have fantastically animated shows, so I know it's gonna be good in this one, and I am super thrilled about this show, and I think it's gonna be awesome. Next up, we have Classroom Crisis, and in this show, basically humanity has kind of colonized all the planets out there. They're expanding into space, and they want to go further. And this story actually centers around a group of high school students that are developing their skills related to space exploration. So stuff like piloting, mechanics and repair and things like that. This is a comedy school romance sci-fi show being done by Le Duce, who hasn't really done anything. And so this is an original anime being done by a studio that doesn't really have a track record. And the concept is kind of vague. There's not a whole lot of info to go on, but all the CMs and PVs have nice music, good voice acting. I like the character designs, and I get the impression that this is going to be a fun and relaxing show to watch, and it's going to be a good, primarily rom-com is what it's supposed to be. So I think this one is promising. Next up, we have A Boring World Where the Concept of Dirty Jokes Doesn't Exist. Another incredibly long title. If you can't tell from the picture, the show is a little ridiculous. It's set in a world where a law has been passed banning coarse language, dirty language, and dirty jokes and stuff like that throughout the country. And it's actually set about 16 years after the law has been passed. And the main character, Tanakichi Okuma, is a student at this elite public morals school. And he winds up getting blackmailed into joining this terrorist group. But the twist is, instead of, bombing hospitals and killing people and horrible stuff, this terrorist group goes around and basically, throws panties at people and tells dirty jokes and stuff like that. And that's, their terrorist acts against this law that has been passed. This is a comedy ecchi school show being done by JC Staff, who's done Food Wars, Waiting in the Summer, and Bakuman. And the bottom line on this one is that the PV for this anime, the promotional video really just cracks me up. I know this anime is going to be awkward, disturbing, and it's going to be hilarious. And I'm hoping that this is the funny kind of ecchi, kind of akin to Food Wars, or something along that, and not the sad, fan servicey kind like we saw in Testament Sister New Devil or New Sister Devil, or those kind of shows where it's kind of like just thrown in extra. Like in this case, like sure the ecchi might be there, but it's kind of like the plot of the anime. All this stuff has been banned, and so this group is coming back and doing these things as a means of protest, which is, hey, it probably wouldn't happen in the real world, but it could happen, and I think it works as a kind of plot device there. So I'm actually pretty excited about this one, despite my sort of inherent hatred of ecchi, and I think it looks pretty promising. Next up, we have God Eater. Now, this one's based on a game, and in this world of the game, humanity has been attacked by these life forms that are called oracles or oracle cells or something like that, and pretty much they're almost impossible to kill. Modern weaponry doesn't work. Your typical, oh my goodness, how are we going to kill these unstoppable monsters? However, one hope remains in the form of God Eaters who use weapons that incorporate cells from the oracles into them, and apparently that gives them the power to kill other oracles. And the story follows an elite group of God Eaters as they wage war against the oracles and try to take back the world for humanity. It's a supernatural action military fantasy show being done by Ufotable, who has done Fate Zero, Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, and Ninja Nonsense. The bottom line here is that, the obvious plus is Ufotable, right? Because their animation is fantastic. Fate Zero, Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works are just phenomenally awesome looking. Their fight scenes are great. So this... that's a plus for this anime. There's bound to be lots of fighting. It's based on a game, and the whole idea is centered around this conflict between God Eaters and, oracles. And this anime actually has a really unique art style that I didn't like at first. When I first saw the promotional video, I kind of went, ugh, what is this? Is this going to be an all 3D show and look like really crappy? And you know what? I think that maybe in the hands of a different production company, it might be, but because it's Ufotable, I really feel like it's going to be really good quality. And after watching the promotional videos several times, I really saw the details and things that were in there, that made it look good. And I really started to like the style because it was so well done, and I really like the color palette that they use as well, sort of some dark, interesting tones that are in there. The concept seems, pretty cool. I mean, it's pretty standard, but, if you're going to fight something, you might as well, fight an unstoppable enemy with super badass weapons, right? And with Ufotable handling the animation, I'm more inclined to be excited than I am to be wary, even though it's based on a game, and most of the time, something based on a game, I kind of go, hey, concept's cool. It's got this neat art style. Ufotable's doing the animation and everything, so I'm excited. I think it looks awesome. Next up, we have Snow White with the red hair. And in this anime, Snow White has red hair, which is really rare in her country. And one day, the prince of her country demands that, she be his concubine. He comes down and says, I want her to be with me because her hair is rare. Right? And Snow White goes, no, that's not happening. So she cuts off her hair, flees to a neighboring country, and when she does, she bumps into Zin, who, unbeknownst to her at the time, is actually a prince of that country. And, through their interactions and stuff, she decides that she would like to serve as his court doctor. And it sort of follows their romance and her, adventures as a court doctor. It's a fantasy drama, romance shoujo historical show being done by Bones, who's done Soul Eater, Ouran High School Host Club, and Noragami. And the bottom line here is that I have no doubt this is going to turn out to be a good anime, because the staff that's working on it, if you look at the people, the company, the director, all that, just has such an incredibly strong work history. They've done a lot of really good shows, and Bones is a great studio in terms of production quality and things like that. So it's going to be a good show, but I have to admit that I'm not really into romance stories when they involve royalty. I don't really care about princes, princesses, kings, queens, dukes, whatever. If I'm watching a romance story, I prefer it to be more about like normal people or something like that. And so for that reason, I'm really not that excited about this one. But if that is your thing, this is probably going to be a really good show to watch for that particular genre. But as for me, I'm going to stay neutral on this one. Next up, we have I Am, one of the few shows where I kind of prefer the Japanese name, which I believe is Jitsu wa Watashi wa, something along that, because I am is like, I am what? Anyway, this story centers around Asahi Kuramine, and it's a rom-com. So Asahi is a high school student, and he can't keep secrets. And it's not so much that he can't keep secrets; he just like is a very open person. He can't hide his feelings. He has a hard time lying, things like that. And he actually has a crush on this really cute girl in his class, and he finally works up the nerve to go like ask her out. And in the process, he finds out that she's really a vampire. And obviously, for reasons, people can't find out that she's a vampire. And he's terrible at keeping secrets, but he is determined to keep her secret no matter what it takes. It's a comedy school romance fantasy shonen. It's being done by TMS Entertainment, who has done Kami-sama Kiss, A Pilot's Love Song, and Gugure Kokuri-san. The bottom line on this one is I think this anime is going to be fun. It's going to be fun in the way that Yamada-kun and the Seven Witches, Rine, or Kami-sama Kiss are fun, just in the fact that it's going to be a lighthearted rom-com anime that doesn't take itself too seriously. I don't know if the romance is actually going to go anywhere. Like always, I hope it does. But I like the art style, I like the character designs, the promotional videos entertaining, and I read the first chapter of the manga and really enjoyed it. So I think this show looks really promising. Next up, we have Overlord. Now, Overlord is about this game called Yggdrasil, and it's a virtual reality game. And this anime set way off in the future, and Yggdrasil is a virtual reality game that shuts down. And when it does, one of the game's players, Momonga, decides that he's not going to log out. First of all, that's a crazy name, but if your name's Momonga, I'm sorry. I just haven't heard that one before. So when he doesn't log out, he actually gets transformed into this skeleton avatar who's like the most powerful wizard. And as the game continues on, the non-player characters, the NPCs, start to change. They start to develop feelings and kind of become their own people. And the world continues to change. And as it does so, Momonga attempts to take it over. He wants to become the overlord of the game. And this is an action-adventure fantasy game being done by Madhouse Studios, who's done My Love Story, No Game, No Life, and Ace of the Diamond. And the bottom line on this one is that, hey, first, it's a dark fantasy, not a lighthearted fantasy. It's a dark fantasy. And the main character is trying to take over the world instead of save it, which is awesome. I mean, maybe by taking over the world, he'll end up saving it or something like that. I don't know. But what we know right now is that he wants to take over the world. And that's a nice change. Madhouse has kind of been on a bit of a roll with me lately. I really, really enjoy My Love Story. And seeing them pick up this like pseudo high fantasy title has me pretty curious and excited about it, because I don't recall another like sort of high fantasy title that they've tackled recently. Watching the promotional video, I kind of got some Hunter x Hunter vibes, just based on the kind of the way the characters looked, some of the music, like the environment they're in. And obviously it's not going to be Hunter x Hunter, but just the fact that I watched the promotional video and got that vibe is good, because I really liked Hunter x Hunter, talking about the 2011 version. And I'm really interested to see where this one goes, so I think this one is awesome. Next up, we have This Is a Voice Actor. Now, this is based on a manga that's actually written by a voice actor, and it centers around 3 rookie voice actresses and the challenges that they face within the industry. And that's pretty much it. It's a comedy slice of life being done by Gonzo, who's done Saki, Blade and Soul, and Glass Fleet. And the bottom line on this one is that, there's a couple reasons I'm looking forward to the show. Number one, I like slice of life shows that feature a female-centric cast, like Is the Order a Rabbit, Hana Yamata, stuff like that. Sakura Kiss, whatever. Number two is that I like the character designs. They look like the designs from those other shows, which is part of the reason that I like those shows, because the way the characters are designed, they're able to evoke a wide range of expressions and emotions and exaggerations, and it makes for a very interesting watch. And then finally, the show looks like it's going to be full of a lot of good fun, humor, and warm fuzzies and stuff. And that all just sort of rolls into the fact that, there's a type of show, and this is that type of show, and I like that type of show. So I do think that this one looks promising. Next up, we have Heroes of the Six Flowers. Now, in this one, a darkness awakens in the world. And when it does, the god of fate chooses 6 heroes and gives them the power to save the world. And these 6 heroes are going to meet up at this rendezvous. But when they do, there are actually 7 heroes that show up. And so instantly they go, one of us is a traitor. One of us has to be an agent sent here by the evil, by the darkness. And it just so happens that everybody thinks that it's the main character. This is an action-adventure fantasy mystery by Passione, who has done Rail Wars. The bottom line here is that, I'm watching the promotional videos, and something about the visual quality of this anime kind of came across as like cheap or lazy to me. I think it's a combination. There's these sort of like green screen style backgrounds where they like feel really detached from the characters. And I think about half those backgrounds looked that way, and the other half looked like really detailed and nice. There's some bad 3D and some like just stupid looking enemies that are in there, and the camera spins a whole lot. And I think all that together just kind of gave me this bad sort of vibe. And the plot's not exactly like revolutionary or anything. I think it's kind of vague, and I sort of have a hard time caring about the world or the characters based on the video and based on the descriptions and stuff like that. So I'm really not interested in this show. Maybe it'll prove me wrong. Maybe it'll actually come back and surprise me. It's happened before, but for now, I got to say that I'm just not interested. Next up, we have the Instructor of Aerial Combat Wizard Candidates. Now, this was originally, I think it was planned to be a spring show, and I actually had to delete it at the last minute. And now it's back for summer. And in this show, Katana Eiji Kanata Eiji was a member of an elite force of wizards, and wizards are these aerial combatants who fight against these magical armored insects that showed up and started, just going to town on humanity, on the world, and so wizards fight them. But for some reason, he's now despised as a traitor to that elite group, and he's assigned to instruct the absolute worst wizard team that there is, which is composed of 3 girls who all have unique traits or quirks or something like that. This is an action fantasy magic school harem show. It's being done by Diomedia, who did Cancall or Kantai Collection, Silver Fox or Gengetsune, and Sola. And the bottom line on this one is that it's probably going to be bad. There's a type of show which I kind of just refer to as the generic supernatural harem show, where it stars a guy who has really strong powers, be they in a fantasy setting or sci-fi setting, and he has all these girls around him who need his help. And, so the generic supernatural harem. And that's what this is. There were a lot of those in the winter. Stuff like Unlimited Fafnir, Seiken Tsukai no World Break, a couple other shows. And this just happens to be like one of the only, if not the only one this season. I don't hate the art on it, so I'll probably watch it. I tend to go one of two ways with shows like this. I either hate them, like I did with Unlimited Fafnir, and just kind of like drop them halfway in to the first episode, or I watch them as sort of a form of mindless entertainment, maybe akin to like reality TV or something, which I did with Seikai Tsuken no World Break. I actually watched that one all the way through, and it was just kind of like a mindless show that I put on, when I just wanted to watch anime but didn't really want to have to think too hard. So I have a feeling this show is going to be one of those that I just kind of watch for fun or whatever. But maybe I'll end up hating it. But I'm not going to say that I'm interested in it. Even though I may watch it, it's not really on my radar. Next up, we have My Two-Faced Little Sister. Now, this show is based on a 4-koma manga, which is a 4-panel, just kind of reminds me of like a newspaper comic. So there's not a whole lot of information to go on about it because it is being expanded into a full anime, from what I understand. Maybe it'll be a short, I'm not sure at this point. But it's a gag comedy that features 2 siblings. There's a younger sister and an older brother. And the show is focused on the little sister, Umaru, who's beautiful and great at school and sports and everything, but she has a secret. And based on the video and the picture that you just saw, I'm going to assume that the secret is that she's a fat, lazy otaku when she's at home. This is a comedy school slice of life being done by Doga Kobo, who did Plastic Memories, Engaged to the Unidentified, Monthly Girls, and Nozaki-kun. And the bottom line here is I'm excited. I've got high hopes for this, but it's not because of the material of the show. It's because of the pedigree of the director who's working on it and the production studio, because they've done Survival Game Club, Engaged to the Unidentified, Monthly Girls and Nozaki-kun, Plastic Memories, and more. And all these shows that I really, really enjoyed. So despite the lack of information on this one, I'm expecting it to be good based on that pedigree, and I really hope that it will. So I think that this show looks pretty promising because of that. Next up, we have School Live or School Live. I'm going to go with School Live, although it may be Live. This is about 4 girls who are part of the school life club, and they decide to stay at school overnight one day, because that's kind of what they do. The school life club sort of helps out other clubs and things like that, and I think they decide to help out a club, and they end up staying at school overnight as sort of like a camping adventure. And when they wake up, they discover that they are the only survivors of a zombie attack or a zombie apocalypse, and the show kind of follows them as they live at the school from that point on and try to survive. This is a school supernatural horror mystery slice of life show being done by I forgot how to say it. Yeah. And the bottom line here is that the promotional videos, there aren't any yet, so you can't really judge the animation as of the making of this video. But I did read the first chapter of the manga, and it really came across as this oh, hey, this is a school club slice of life anime, and then all of a sudden, boom, it was like this psychological horror kind of twist in there, and I just went, wow, this is really interesting. So I'm looking forward to this anime because of that twist, and I think that it looks pretty promising. Next up, we have Prison School. And in this anime, 5 boys get admitted to a formerly all-girls boarding school. So there's this elite boarding school for girls. They all live at the school, and they changed the rules, and now they're becoming co-ed. So these 5 boys get admitted to the school, and I believe the ratio of boys to girls or girls to boys is like 200 girls for each boy. But when they get into the class, they discover that none of the girls will talk to them. And they soon find out that there's this shadow student council that's threatening the female students to prevent them from interacting with the males. And then I'm not really sure where it goes from there. I'm not sure if they try to stand up to the council or what goes on. But this is an ecchi school comedy romance show being done by JC Staff, who's done Food Wars, Waiting in the Summer, and Bakuman. And the bottom line here is I got a feeling that this show is going to be the kind of ecchi that I'm not really a fan of, the kind of ecchi that is unnecessary for the plot. It doesn't really contribute to the story of the show. It's just kind of there as an accessory, which I personally don't really like. And I'm also positive that the show is going to be censored all the hell. Just based on the first chapter of the manga and some of the promotional videos, I can't imagine that this show will get to the end of its run without being just censored horribly. So that leaves me with a couple questions. Is the plot going to be interesting enough to overcome the the ecchi on the side, and I don't think it will be. Maybe the comedy or romantic threads might, be enough. Maybe. I honestly don't really expect to enjoy this one at all, but I am curious to kind of find out what the end game is here. Like, I understand, okay, lots of girls, a little bit of boys, they want to talk to each other, all that kind of stuff. Shadow Council doesn't want them to. It's like, why? I don't. What's the end goal here? So I'm not really interested in this one. Obviously, I cover all the shows, so I will at least watch the first episode and check it out. But for now, I'm just not interested in it. Next up, we have Charlotte. And Charlotte revolves around boys and girls that develop special powers, supernatural powers, superpowers during puberty. And the main character has so far been able to use his powers without anyone else finding out. And then this girl shows up, and suddenly, the secrecy that he has about using his powers is jeopardized, and the fate of all the other superpowered boys and girls is put in the balance of what's going to happen to them. And I don't really know why. I don't know if it's because the girl wants to expose everything, and they've been secretly having their powers, or what the deal is. But that's the general idea of the show. It's a school slice of life supernatural drama being done by PA Works, who has done Angel Beats, Eccentric Family, and Shirobako. And the bottom line on this one is that it's a new original anime by the creators of Angel Beats. So it's probably going to be really, really good. Angel Beats was good. I imagine this will be good. And I imagine that the soundtrack is going to be awesome. Because the soundtrack for Angel's Beats was great. I really liked the music from that show, and I really liked Girls Dead Monster, the band that was all throughout that show. So I think more than the show itself, I'm actually really looking forward to seeing what kind of music comes out of this show. And I do think it looks promising, not just because of the music, but because of the story being written by the same author of Angel Beats, and it's being done by the same creators and everything. So it will probably turn out really, really good. And finally, we have Monster Musume. In this show, a human teenager, is basically voluntold by the government that he has to participate in an interspecies exchange program. The government basically makes a mistake, and instead of fixing it, they tell him that he now has to be the host to a essentially foreign exchange student who just happens to be a humanoid instead of a human. And eventually more humanoid females show up to live with him. And there are strict laws applied to the program against interspecies breeding and things like that. So he, as a teenage boy, male, whatever, has to fight his hormones and not break any of those laws, despite all the females wanting him to, basically. It's a comedy, ecchi, fantasy, romance harem. It's being done by Lishao. I forgot how to pronounce it again. So we'll move on to the bottom line for this one, and that is that this is definitely the kind of ecchi that I hate. The entire premise of the show is just set up on purpose to just have ecchi everywhere. I mean, come on. The show is about a guy who has to keep it in his pants and not bone a bunch of monster chicks. So, yeah. But maybe it'll be really good, right? No. I really don't think so. And I'm really not interested in this show at all. Unlike some of the other ones, I really, really don't expect to watch it past the first episode. Just based on some of that. But we will see. Kind of sucks to end it on a bad note, but let's go on and talk about my top picks for returning shows in the summer 2015 season. So these are the shows I'm really excited about that are actually coming back or getting new seasons and things like that. I'm going to go ahead and spoil a little bit and tell you that there are 4 of them. And at number 4, Fate Kali-Linear Prisma Ilia, or however you pronounce that. Let me know. And I'm excited about this one because I liked the first 3 seasons, I believe. It's set in the Fate universe, and I like kind of seeing the twist on those characters where they're not so serious fighting the Grail Wars and all that. It's got this kind of magical girl vibe to it, so I really enjoy that. In at number 3 is Rene. I've really been enjoying this show this past season. It's kind of one of my go-to sort of feel-good, chill kind of animes where I know that I can watch it and like stuff's gonna happen, but it's never gonna be super serious, and I'm not gonna get stressed out over drama or someone almost dying or something like that. It's just a general, just kind of a feel-good, fun show, and I've really been enjoying it and look forward to watching more episodes. In at number 2 is My Love Story because if you're not watching this show and you like rom-coms, if you like romance, if you like comedy, watch this show. It's so good. The animation is excellent. It stars a couple who is normal. They're not, so far the romance is not full of like all the crazy drama and stuff that you would expect from a lot of anime. And it's also not one of the ones where they put off, telling each other about their feelings and datings and stuff like that forever. So it's about a normal couple just kind of getting to know each other and stuff. And it is really, really, really good, really cute, really entertaining. And I'm really glad that there are more episodes coming. And then in at number 1 for me is Food Wars, Shokugeki no Soma. And the reason for that is this show has just been incredibly entertaining. It's kind of like Dragon Ball Z. You get the same thing every episode, which is basically someone comes up and is like, your food's not as good as my food. And then the main character's like, yo, my food's the best, and cooks up something amazing. And it's just the same thing over and over. But somehow they managed to make it entertaining, and they managed to make it funny and exciting. And, this is one of the very few shows that I've seen that kind of has an ecchi twist to it that I don't absolutely hate. So I'm really looking forward to seeing some more episodes of this as we go into the summer season. And then finally, my top 7 picks for brand new shows. 7 because I take the number of new shows divided by 3 round up, and that just happened to be 7 this season. Now, in this case, there really weren't a whole lot of shows that I was like really, really excited about, but there were a lot of shows that I was just generally excited about. So it was really hard for me to narrow this down to 7 picks, not because everything was mind-blowingly amazing, just because everything looks pretty solid this season. And there weren't a whole lot that really stood out way more than everything else. So it was kind of hard to narrow it down to 7. There are some shows that I still am not sure if I should have put on this list. So I still have some conflict going on about some shows that got left off this list. But in at number 7 is Aoharu X Machine Gun. And if I'm being honest, it's probably just because I liked Survival Game Club so much, and I'm really looking forward to more Survival Game Club kind of stuff, survival games in anime. I did read the first chapter of the manga, really enjoyed it, so I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. I mean, it was funny. But honestly, a lot of it comes down to that Sabagebu influence. In at number 6 is School Live. And this one is just because it's such an interesting twist to me to have this, this schoolgirl club kind of thing going on, but then twist it with this zombie apocalypse survival stuff. And I'm really interested. Also, I went to the website and listened to, they have clips of the voice actresses of the main characters, and there are some voice actresses that I really like. So all in all, just lots of reasons for me to look forward to and be excited about this show. In at number 5 is Ranpo Kiten, Game of Laplas. Once again, not a lot of information to go on here. Honestly, the PV videos don't really show much of anything, but this one just has such a different vibe from a lot of the shows that we've had in recent seasons. It's such a nice change of theme, of atmosphere and everything, that I'm really looking forward to watching it just for that. Just having this sort of murder, mystery, possibly supernatural stuff going on. I really like the character designs, and I think that it's going to turn into a pretty interesting show. In at number 4 is I Am, or Jitsu wa Watashi wa. And the reason that this is at number 4, and even on the list, and beating out some of these other shows, is because I I finally come to terms with the fact that I really like to have just a chill, fun show to watch. It doesn't have to be serious. It doesn't have to be mind blowing. It doesn't have to be the next revolution of anime. Um, it doesn't have to be Madoka Magica every time or something like that. The shows like Rine or Nozaki-kun or anything like that. And this show, to me, looks like it's going to be a really solid rom com with an enjoyable cast of characters. And so for that reason, I put it in at number 4 because I really am looking forward to it this season. And now the top 3, these are the 3 that really stood out to me. And I mean, if you're paying attention, you probably know what they are. Maybe not the order, but you know what they are. In at number 3 for me is Overlord. And for several reasons, Madhouse, the Hunter x Hunter vibes. I really, really loved Hunter x Hunter, the 2011 version. And just the dark fantasy, the main character who wants to take over the world. The characters look, pretty cool, interesting. All in all, it's just got this, this kind of dark, sort of creepy fantasy vibe that we haven't had recently. And so because of that, I think that it looks really interesting, and I want to see what Madhouse does with it. In at number 2 is God Eater. And if you would have asked me when I first started looking into the seasons if this would have even been on the list, I would have said no. But the more that I've watched the promotional videos, and just the more the fact that it's been hammered into my head that Ufotable is the company working on this, the more I've just gotten excited about this show. And, honestly, it could turn out to be really, really terrible. But for right now, I'm really, really excited about it. I want to see the fight scenes. I want to see the environments and stuff that they produce with this color palette and the art style that they have. And I think that it's going to make for a really interesting show, or it'll make for a really, really terrible show. I don't know that there's going to be a lot of middle ground on that one. And so finally, my number 1 show, which, like I said, if you've been paying attention, you knew the shows, so you know what this is. In at number 1 is Gate, thus the JSDF fought there. And honestly, I think for artistic reasons, I probably could have picked something else for the number 1 spot. But if I'm just going to be honest with myself, it's fantasy. And it's good-looking, well-animated fantasy. And it has that twist of the modern military being thrown in there. And it's going to have to do something horrible for me not to love it. Last season, somehow I don't think I put Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon in my top 7 picks, which was a mistake because that show is one of my absolute favorites this season. And, I just kind of looked at this one and went, yeah, there's no way that's not going on my list. And here it is at number 1. I think the characters look really cool. I think the animation looks great. The concept is awesome. A1 Pictures, solid studio. And I think this is just going to turn into a really good show, but we'll see. I could be wrong. I did say that the Heroic Legend of Arslan was going to be my number 1 from last season, and it's not bad, but it's nowhere near my favorite this season. So we'll see. Hopefully this one doesn't let me down. So if you've enjoyed the preview, if you've enjoyed this video, please keep an eye on my site during the upcoming season for anime reviews and impressions. If you're interested in helping out, feel free to contact me and let me know. You could find the website at animeimpressions.wordpress.com. Thank you for your time, and I will see you back next season when we cover the fall 2015 season in 3 or 4 months here.